The honourable member for Prince Edward Hastings.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And today, of course, I'm honoured to add my voice in support of the new small business job credit, which, of course, builds on our government's commitment to lowering taxes and leaving more money in the pockets of hardworking Canadian families and, of course, job-creating businesses. Our government has a proven track record of success when it comes to supporting families and communities, and regretfully, under the high-tax NDP and Liberals, they do not believe that we are on the right track. They think Canadians should pay more taxes. Well, we do have an obvious difference of opinion, and respectively, that is a difference. But of course, in the last federal election, we said Canadians should pay less taxes, and we will end up having more revenue for the government. And that's exactly what has happened, Mr. Speaker. In fact, our strong record of tax relief has meant savings of nearly $3,400 for a typical family of four in 2014, which of course allowed them to invest those savings in important family matters that really benefited not only a typical family, but of course generally their communities as well. And you should also be aware, Mr. Speaker, that this low tax plan that we have has produced the strongest middle class in the world. We've put back over $30 billion, $30 billion, into the pockets of everyday Canadians in a number of different ways. And it's a shame that the Liberals and the NDP, our opposition, have consistently voted every time against lower taxes. Now, our economic action plan will play a key role in strengthening our economy, not just now, but in the future, with positive measures that advance economic progress and, of course, subsequently, prosperity that runs along with it. And so, Mr. Speaker, yes, today let me highlight just one small measure. It's our government small business tax credit, which will lower EI premiums for small businesses by approximately 15%. Now, over the next 2 years, the premium reductions will save employers $550 million, potentially money that they can use to hire more Canadians. Now, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, of which I was a proud member for many, many years, estimate that the credit will create 25,000 person-years of employment over the next 2 to 3 years alone. Now, the Finance Minister also confirmed that in 2017, EI premiums will go from the current $1.88 per $100 of earnings down to $1.47. So, Mr. Speaker, in 2017, we will definitely have moved to the point where we will then be in an accountable and yet a complete structured program that is, at that point, you might say self-supporting. This means that Canadians then and employers will have more money to invest in other requirements like training and, of course, increasing wages. And, of course, workers will have more money in their wallets at the end of the day. So, yes, it's a positive measure. That fact remains clear. It's something that organizations across this country, those that understand small business, they also recognize this will go a long way in helping the Canadian economy, given the importance of small business to the Canadian economy. So let me quote the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, who say, and I quote, "This will make it easier to hire new workers or invest in additional training to help entrepreneurs grow their business. This announcement is fantastic news for Canada's entrepreneurs and their employees, and as such can only be a positive for the Canadian economy." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, it should be noted that the Canadian Federation of Independent Business represents a huge, broad percentage of small business in Canada at this point. Now, Mr. Speaker, our government has a responsibility to create the right conditions for economic growth. And it's one that we don't take lightly. Since the downturn, we've had now a steady increase in employment. Interest rates have been low, and we've experienced the kind of economic growth that has made us really the envy of every other country. Of course, documented by independent organizations such as the IMF, the World Bank, and of course we got here. How? By implementing concrete measures to ensure Canadians have the skills that they need for the jobs that are in demand. I know in my riding I was very, very pleased to see we were able to contribute to a new skills development building at Loyalist College, which certainly aids the local trade people in our area gain the skills that are necessary to be able to have them not only compete, but gain the jobs that are readily available. Now, by ensuring that federal funding responds to the hiring needs of employers, and by giving them the opportunity to participate meaningfully as partners in this skills training, the Canada Job Grant has and will continue to transform skills training in Canada. Now, the Canada Job Grant also provides up to $15,000 per person for training costs, including tuition and training materials, which includes up to $10,000 in federal contributions, with employers contributing an average of 1/3 of the total cost of training. As important as this milestone is, Economic Action Plan 2014 even went one step further by creating the Canada Apprentice Loan to help registered apprentices with the cost of their training. It will do so by expanding the Canada Student Loans Program to provide apprentices registered in the Red Seal trades with access to over $100 million in interest-free loans each year. And to further support apprentices, Economic Action Plan 2014 takes steps to increase awareness of the existing financial supports available to apprentices through the Employment Insurance Program while they are on technical training. Of course, it also announced that our Conservative government will improve the youth employment strategy to align it with the evolving realities of the job market and to ensure federal investments in youth employment provide our young Canadians with real-life work experience in high-demand fields such as science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the skilled trades. Yes, Mr. Speaker, it is an evolutionary change that we have undertaken to match skills to jobs to ensure that our young people have a sustainable future. And although Canada boasts high levels of post-secondary achievement, the transition, as we all know, to the first job in particular can be very, very challenging. That's why, through our Economic Action Plan, our government dedicated over $40 million towards supporting up to 3,000 internships across the country in these high-demand fields. Now, lasting between 6 and 12 months, these internships will give participants the opportunity to gain real-life work experience and skills necessary to succeed in the workplace, now and in the future. And all these measures stand in stark contrast to the Liberals' over $6 billion tax grab on Canadian businesses. Money from the economy, money from employers, money from businesses, organizations, money that they desperately need to compete with. This would lead to a massive increase in payroll taxes, EI premiums of nearly 50 cents, and kill thousands of jobs. If we take a look at just one part of this plan alone that the Liberals have, Mr. Speaker, and then the opposition, a 45-day work week, well, its cost alone is over $4 billion. So it's abundantly clear that we don't need that measure, and certainly not the one that the Liberals are proposing and continue to propose today. So, Mr. Speaker, to conclude, we will remain focused on what matters to Canadians, to jobs, economic growth, and ensuring that Canada's economic advantage that we have today will translate into the long-term prosperity of tomorrow. Our recent small business job credit shows commitment to Canadian employees, employers. Mr. Speaker, and just don't take our word for it. We're always standing up for small business. Again, take it from a source that we know has and will continue to support our government's actions in this regard. The CFIB, when I say, and I quote, small businesses in Canada should be thrilled with this announcement because they are told time and time again that payroll taxes like EI are the biggest disincentive to hiring. So any relief that the government can provide will encourage them to be hiring more Canadians, end quote. Therefore, today I urge all members to not support this job-killing motion from the Liberal Party. And remember that it is this government who has the best interests of small business and every single Canadian who are and will continue to look for a job, albeit in the short term. But, Mr. Speaker, we are providing a future of hope for all these people who do and can and will and need a job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.